Hi everyone and welcome back to my vlog. It's part 2 today of Australian Road Crew. Let's get stuck into it. The late and great Aaron Chugg. He was a popular and much loved crew member. He too managed the Screaming Jets for a while, and the Enmore Theatre, they hosted a benefit concert which saw former members of the Screaming Jets reunite for a performance. Michael Chugg emceed the evening, and yeah, it was a great night. Some other blokes that worked for the Jets include Earthy, Jamie, Phil, Scott Connolly, Rod, and many more. AFG Greenall, quite the character, larger than life, a larrikin, affectionately known as AFG. Sadly passed not that long ago. Rest in peace, Andy. Very supportive of crew and the industry. Probably had lots of stories. There's one with Howard Freeman where they decided to sprinkle some, funny stuff into James Brown's drink at his Selena's concert.
Wow, I feel good.
Andy Taylor, he was the house engineer at the Sydney Trade Union Club at the end of its days, round midnight, the Cardoma, all those old fabulous venues. And I happened to find some very rare photos of the Cardoma. The dark, small, very much like Springfield's, in the heart of King's Cross. Fantastic photos. Look, from Ed Cooper, Sacred Cowboys, Eskimo Joe, Red Hook, Andy definitely is a man of many talents, and he's still working to this day with his own company. Anthony Bazz Barrett from the Ramones, UMI, Buzzcocks, Nirvana, just to name a few. He toured for a few of Midnight Oil's early reunion performances, the ones that kick-started their world tour. Billy Hibben, the late and great Billy, he was a mentor to many crew people, including Motley, the lighting designer. He was proud to call him a mate, and like many, understood that Billy was a real pro at his job. His guitar tech work, especially for acts like Diesel and Jeff Martin of the Tea Party, really did show a great understanding of, electronics and tunings, and just a fantastic guy. Brad Alcock, the Firefight Bushfire Relief Concert a few years back now in Sydney, saw about 1,400 workers on board, and what a mammoth task putting all that together. But it happened with the, coordination, support, elbow grease of so many people, including Brad, Steve Swift, Colin Skal, Dave Jackson, Jeff Pavey, and Brad also happens to be the creative director for Tina Arena, Human Nature, does rock whiz, just a fantastic all-rounder. Bob Daniels, he toured America with the Angels, worked for Steve Winwood, Stevie Wonder, and that Christmas East Timor concert in 1999, which was initiated by Doc Neeson, organised by Glenn Wheatley. Again, another mammoth effort, and Bob and so many other crew were involved in just making it a huge success.
It's probably the greatest unseen John Farnham vision.
And from where he was sitting a couple up from me, Bishop Bello went forward and said to me, Mr. General, what are they actually singing?
Bob Welch, 30 years on the road, a true veteran and road warrior. When Bob was laid up once with some injuries and unable to return to work, Support Act stepped in and helped him, really wanted to highlight the good work that Support Act do.
And a friend of mine suggested that I call Support Act, and as it happened I spoke to Lindy Morrison, of whom I was a fan, and they very generously pulled my fat out of the fire. For 6 months they covered my rent and my bills while I was recovering from knee reconstruction.
Christian McBride, he's been a backline tech, a stage manager, a tour manager, and a promoter representative with artists and promoters including Paul Kelly, Icehouse, the Whitlams, Paul McCartney, Brian Ferry, worked with Frontier Touring, Field Presents, lots of stuff. And he did help and continues to drive some important initiatives while on board at Crew Care. So hop onto their website and see the great work that they do. And Christian, Festivals like Blues Fest, Splendour in the Grass, Parklife, all of these concerts just wouldn't be successful without people like him. Chris Simmons, I think his career highlight was the David Bowie concerts, where he recalls with fondness sitting high above the stage, looking down a tunnel of light, all the while keeping Bowie perfectly lit in the spotlight. Colin Ellis, starting in 1979 with INXS, he did all their world touring until about 92. He did Midnight Oil for a while, and he returned in 2010, mainly because Midnight Oil's manager said of all the band's engineers, he was the best that they had. Colin Skal, he began in the mid-80s as a stage tech for Split Enz, Tim Finn, and he wears a hat of production director now with Ted Dainty. The story that I want to tell is it involves a great experience that he and others provided for a group of students from the Balgo-Kimberley region in WA. So Katy Perry was playing a concert there, and with the help of Patrick from KP Touring, they were able to have the kids witness the whole behind-the-scenes stuff at the concert, watching the giant trusses coming up from the floor, the screen, the sound rigs coming to life. What a fabulous experience, and how fantastic of those people. Clifford Hoad of Kings of the Sun, he tells the time when Axl Rose ordered some Australian roadies to escort them from the premises.
You guys have had a big night. Of course, Kings of the Sun have just come from the Sydney Entertainment Centre where you've been supporting Guns N' Roses. You had a few problems.
Pretty outrageous. They ended up getting thrown out in the end.
Thrown out?
Yeah, they read something in a magazine they didn't like, and they said, we don't want these guys in the building, and threw us out.
Now, I did also hear that it was only getting the power cut, but whatever went down, what do they say? Any publicity is good publicity. Dee Dimmick, she started on the floor at Brisbane Entertainment Centre in the 80s. She formed All Access Crewing, helped legislate fair pay and safe working conditions. She founded, Roadies Retreat, and look, keeping her people alive is just one part of Dee's incredible legacy that she leaves behind. Rest in peace, Dee. David Quinn, bands like INXS, Cold Chisel, the Party Boys. In fact, there's a great live desk tape you can find of the Party Boys. Check that out. Now, running the Paul McCartney gig at Parramatta Park and the Sydney Cricket Ground was definitely a highlight for David. Building the towers and the stage, it was a massive undertaking. And I know he did monitors for Jeff Buckley's Grace Tour. That would have been fantastic. His brother Peter Quinn, he worked for bands like Judge Mercy, Kings of the Sun, Candy Harlots, Baby Animals, Party Boys, Spy vs. Spy. He worked for the Seekers from 1999 till 2015, and he provided his expertise and skills at the wonderful Hammer Hall in Melbourne. I'm thinking those overseas jaunts with Baby Animals when they supported Van Halen and Robert Plant would definitely have been a highlight for him. Eric Robinson, what a great man. I know he was the face of Jans, but he did begin his career as a roadie for local bands in Australia. And look, he was just there at the beginning. He was at Sunbury. He was there for the first Australian Led Zeppelin tours, Elton John, ABBA, Fleetwood Mac. A complete visionary, a pioneer, just an all-round legend. Rightly honoured with a Medal of the Order of Australia in 2017. Franz Millo, he began as a guitar tech at 19 with a major musical theatre, Buddy Holly the Musical. He's worked at some of Australia's biggest festivals and for some of our greatest guitarists. A fun fact, he's actually Mario Milo's son. Kent Gorrelll, he worked as a roadie for Jimmy and the Boys at one point, and he mentioned that there's a film clip that Rose Tattoo have, and it's got the roadies Bear, Pig, Spike. They're there playing Pinball Machine in that clip. Greg Little, he was one of many road crew at the 1987 Australian Made Tour in Perth. That was also the site of a fantastic Mexican wave. Here's the book. It might still be out there if you're interested. It's a great book, lots of really cool pictures. Harry Parsons, he worked everywhere, including a stint with Duran Duran in 1982, and an American crew member said that Harry apparently had a stare that frightened people because he was an ex-SAS soldier. He also worked for Cold Chisel, and I've got some really cool photos of that. Ian Cameron, I'm thinking a highlight for Ian would be the Metallica Cunning Stunts tour, And look, you know, working for bands like that, it's just a testament to how fabulous our crew really are. John Hylands, Darryl Kavanagh, Norm Sweeney and Mick Christian were pioneering roadies. They toured with the likes of Max Merritt and others. Billy Thorpe talks about those blokes, in particular Norm, who was with Billy for 39 years, up until his death. There's a story in this book. It's fantastic. It's a concert at Queanbeyan in a woolshed. Hardcore brawling, guns, cops. Get the book. It's fantastic. I really recommend it. I wanted to add John Affleck. He was the mixer man for Graphic, the Elks and Cold Chisel, and he was in the van where the other two men passed away. So wanted to include John in this. Jon Pope, he was with Spy vs. Spy, The All-Nighters, worked with the wonderful Julius Grafton. Great book, Julian. I've just finished it. Flying over 72,000 people at Eastern Creek in a helicopter would have been a complete highlight for John. And then after the concert, they just got back into the chopper for the ride back to the city. Just amazing. I was at that concert, actually. It wasn't far from where I lived.
The stage was awesome in itself. The size of a 4-storey building, wide and computerised for a state-of-the-art show of spectacular light and sound.
This lighting rig here holds 900 lights, so it's a pretty amazing light show. It's pretty much been designed for all the band. I mean, they all utilise the ramps, everybody jumps. You'll see sort of Slash will come up and jump off the side of the ramp.
By midday, more than half the crowd had arrived.
Joe Turtur, he's a great drummer, was in the band Hibben, and when they toured overseas supporting bands like Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, I think Joe was only about 20 at the time. So he got an opportunity to work as a drum technician, and he stage managed the Divinals for, I think, about 20 years, actually. Also drum teched for Midnight Oil, In Excess, Crowded House. John Vasey, what a fabulous bloke. John has got a fantastic book called Concert Tour Production Management, How to Take Your Show on the Road and Everything You Need. So everything is in that book. If you get a chance, I'll put the link in the description. Check it out. It's got lots of information about managing crew. You know, it gives examples of call sheets, working out, costs of building, preparing budgets. A complete expert and very well respected in the industry. Kathy O'Hara, in 83, she was unloading trucks, learning to rig, patch and tune PA systems. She worked a lot for a lot of indie alternative bands and, again, one of the few, females that were out there. Kim Volkman tells me in his early days working as a musician, there were often 3 bands working on a day, and the supports were actually asked to supply 2 roadies to help the main act. And apparently if the guys didn't help out, they'd soon find themselves docked. They had a roadie called Cactus, and apparently the numbers poached him, but not long after, he kind of came back to Kim with his tail between his legs because he was completely burnt out. Also, a funny story, Kim knows someone that used to have a pet bat that he would hang from the lighting rigs while the band would play, but he just couldn't remember who it was. So if you know, put it in the comments. Mark Gibson, I've recently chatted to Mark. He remembers all the challenges, the changes, and his decision to move into the corporate world by the mid-90s. And his brother Brett also worked as a road crew.
Okay, well, I started professionally in 1985. Various cover bands. A local act to me was called Bandana. Mm-hmm. I knew the guys and they asked me to do sound, and that's where that started. Various acts like Choir Boys, Mark Williams, Rick Price, James Blundell. I was with him for a couple of years touring. Celibate Rifles.
Fantastic.
And later on in my career, the Angels.
Matt Crosbie, he toured extensively with Nick Cave and the band's Bad Seeds across the world, including a lot of arenas and festival stages from about 2017 until the present time. Mark Woods, the Midnight Oil Live at the Old Lion Adelaide 1982 concert that was recorded by Mark. It's just a fantastic tribute to the great sound engineers produced by the early Australian pub rock scene. Arca's Black Box Records have it. It's on all the major streaming services if you want to have a listen. And it just sounds like a fantastic gig. People like Michael Lippold as well. He was with Midnight Oil for a while. And I believe Michael spent as much time on stage as the band, unravelling Peter's microphone leads and, working around his legs as Peter was sort of, dancing across the stage.
I started in 1980. In those days, bands had to learn their craft the hard way. We were playing on milk crates with plywood on top sometimes. I do corporate now, and I go into rooms and clients are looking at rooms saying, well, we've hit 300 people here. And I go, hey, I can fit 1,500 people in here and still make money on the door.
Michael Oberg, you can see Michael's name alongside Nikki Campbell, who's in Stuart Koo's book, if you want to read about Nikki. Worked for Duran Duran in 82. Michael also worked on production on Cold Chisel's tours. And Michael Gudinski, apparently in 2007, asked him to help this young Las Vegas band on their first trip to Australia, The Killers. Now, Michael initially thought it was just going to be a 6-week stint, but he stayed with them until about 2022. Michael Kelly, in 1985, he's got a diary entry where he had a meeting with Stuart Koo to meet Paul Kelly and arrange his first tour. And he continued with Paul for a while as crew boss, lighting director. Just a magnificent memory for him. Nikki Koumos, he was initially a guitar tech for Skyhooks and Little River Band. Worked with everybody, Jimmy Barnes, In Excess. He worked with Jans, became a great crew chief for them. He was actually on tour with Motley in 1987 and they quickly gelled and received some really cool praise when told that they were the fastest crew on the planet from some pretty cool people. Just worked with so many acts. Neil Whitaker worked with the Radiators in the late 80s. He did stage, guitars, drums, costumes for Brian. And look, after finishing a 6-month tour, he was asked to stage manage the Divinals on their USA trip, but he went home, slept for 2 days, and his mum kind of encouraged him to give it up and get a day job, and that's what he did. So it's probably a good decision for him. Peter Ross, Think, Psychotic Turnbuckles, Screaming Tribesman, The Hitman, Chris Mazawak. I've got a whole vlog devoted to Peter, so I'll put that up really soon. He chats about his experiences and his views about that whole road crew industry.
I was working in a bank when I first left school, and a guy I worked with had a band. One of my long-term collaborations, which is the Psychotic Turnbuckles. I was working for the Screaming Tribesmen for about 10 years. Look, if they had Marshalls, they had guitars, and they had leather jackets, I was kind of there for a long time. I remember doing the Candy Harlots and Kings of the Sun and
Ron Clayton's book.
Ron Clayton.
Crazy.
Ronnie Clayton. Finished that, packed the truck, drove to Jindabyne. We got to Jindabyne, then the tour manager then grabbed the band and said, you're going back to the hotel, don't talk to them.
Peter Sneaky McPhee. Kathy McCabe's got a podcast called Storytime with Jimmy Barnes, where Jimmy and Peter kind of reminisce about their friendship, their, time working together. He was a tour manager and, they tell a story where apparently the band was heading to a gig in a plane somewhere in the bush and apparently the plane went through a mob of kangaroos, so I'm not sure how that worked out, but have a listen to that podcast. And he also worked for Elton John for many years. Reg Dew, the father of riggers, he's seen it all, really. 50 years working and touring with over 500 of the most influential bands in the industry. He passed away only last year. He did 3 world tours with Pink Floyd. The book's got about 21 pages just on the acts that he did. Look, there's Guns N' Roses, there's the Neil Diamond New York show. I will be doing a vlog all about Reg, so look out for that one. Rick Scutts, it was 1980. It was at the Coleman Cutter in Blacktown. He's, packing gear up on a sherbet tour, the loadout, when suddenly a guy in a balaclava points a shotgun at him and Rick just yells at him, "Stop wasting my time. Can't you see I'm working here? Piss off." Obviously didn't realise he was serious. And then the thief just tells him that the pub's getting cleaned out and if he wants to keep breathing to go inside and lie on the floor with everyone else. So big robbery. It only took a few minutes and apparently they got away with about $30,000. And then as soon as it was over, the crew just finished the loadout and they went home. Just another day. Rick Vanderveed, hope I said that right, Rick. A very impressive career. What a fabulous life. Just worked for so many people, so many stories, working not just in Australia but overseas and for companies other than Jan's, actually. Men at Work, Little River Band, Van Halen, Kiss, Rod Stewart. Harry Belafonte, actually, at the end of that tour, gave all the crew a watch. Iron Maiden, Tony Bennett, the Glastonbury Festival, Metallica, Tom Jones, and that's just to name a few. So, yeah, so many road crew had some fantastic experiences like Rick. Ross Ferguson, you can read all about Ross in Stuart Kerr's book. He's got a whole chapter on him. He's writing his own book, actually. Yeah, so another bloke who's had some fantastic experiences from Sherbet to Little River Band to the Models and In Excess. In fact, he's the only Australian guy that In Excess kept. He spent 6 years with Tina Turner. Crowded House was with someone he did, Elton John. And he stage managed some of the Blues Fest for 20 years. So let's get that book finished, Ross. I'd love to read that. Robert Jock Bain, some great career highlights. He started out with the band The Ferrets and Jojo Zeb, worked overseas for a while, and yeah, David Bowie, lots of acts. Always smiling with a cheeky grin on his face. He was the main system engineer actually on that sound relief bushfire concert at the Melbourne Cricket Stadium. Russell Turner. I'm including Russell. He's Jeff Turner's brother, Jeff from the Radiators, because I found this fantastic photo. I really liked it. He's on the road in the freezing cold, and he says in the caption he's got no money to buy a jacket that fitted, just the leftover stuff in merchandising, and you can see it's a Renee Gayer jacket. Fantastic picture. Saucy was a notorious loader from the 80s and 90s, and it was common to see flying fists, hear loud screams, any kind of tactic to knock the crew into shape if they frustrated him and weren't working properly. And once at a sound check for Deep Purple, Richie Blackmore was doing a really, really loud guitar solo. And look, Saucy apparently had a huge hangover, so he yelled at him to shut the F up. Yeah, he was promptly ushered off stage and told to take a break for about a week. Shane Scully, In Excess for 3 years. He just remembers lots of hairy stories, being thrown across the stage after an electrocution, and once nearly seriously injuring Neil Finn when a whole back truss and cans stopped just above his head. Spy Matthews. I found a really funny clip on YouTube. He worked with ACT Concert Tours. He did Supertramp on their 79 tour. He also moved on to bigger things and co-founded Delicate Productions in America. But the clip I'm talking about, it shows him at work. In 1984, he was a production manager for Duran Duran.
Okay, have you had any problem getting the liquor for the band? The correct champagne? Can you get Stolichnaya vodka down there? What do you mean you can't? Just because it's Russian? Hey, come on. Every other state in the country, half of them have said we can't get Stolichnaya vodka. All you have to do is try harder. You can always end up getting it. I don't care if you go out of state to get it. That's what the band wants. That's what we have to get.
Steve Rackley, also known as Recco, there's a true story at the Highway Hotel in Wentworthville. It's not there anymore. But the band he was working for packed up. He heard the double doors of the truck closing and he was yelling to get the doors open for loadout, when suddenly a guy with a Parramatta beanie actually pulled it down his head like a balaclava, pointed a sawn-off shotgun at him, and then there were two men apparently behind the bar with the staff backed against the wall. An explosion was heard, there was noise coming from the office, and then, yeah, they just saw the robbers running out with the cash. So, yeah, the cops came, the cops left, and then apparently when the crew were leaving, they saw the lid was up on one of the skip bins and a pair of eyes were staring at them. Yeah, so not long after they did get caught, but apparently skip bins still make Recco nervous. Stooge, the main guy for Daddy Cool, fantastic road crew guy. He tells a story of a virtually unknown Queen when they were slotted to play the Sunbury 74 concert. Look, maybe it was the band's arrival in black limousines that might have got them offside with the Australian road crew. Madder late crewman, Drac, he apparently dropped his trousers at them. There were delays, getting things ready. And then Michael Chugg started chanting, Go home, you pommy wankers. So Freddie Mercury, he held a tambourine aimed at Stooge and Arthur, another guy. They moved aside and the tambourine hit one of Queen's roadies. Yeah, so Freddie walked off disgusted, told the crowd that, when they return to Australia, they will be the biggest band in the world. And yeah, ain't that the truth? Another story that Stooge tells was when he threw Ignatius Jones into a road case after Ignatius had abused a Hell's Angel guy. So crazy stuff. There's also another story with Deep Purple, but look, it's in Stuart Cou's book, so check it out. And sadly, Stooge did pass away. Tracker, one of the only Indigenous road crew that has worked in the industry. He loved being the stage manager of the Indigenous stage at blues festivals, where he also did welcome dances and before he lost his leg. Worked for bands like Warumpi Band, Guns N' Roses, Pearl Jam, Midnight Oil, toured across the country and beyond. Just a really fabulous bloke. Sadly, he passed. So look, the Australian-made 30th anniversary concert video, you can find it online. There are clips that show backstage scenes, there are crews at work, fans in the 80s wearing their garb, building human pyramids, a Mexican wave thing, just fantastic memories. So yeah, they're all online. I'll try to put the links in my description. So thanks for watching. Another long vlog. I tried to make it shorter, but it's quite hard. So I'd love to hear more of your stories and feedback. I hope you enjoyed this one, and remember to like and subscribe because there will be future vlogs about all Australian content. And again, thanks for your support. Cheers.
What the hell's everybody talking about?
Rock and roll.
I'm screwed.
You gotta rise to the occasion. The bands make it rock, but the roadies make it roll. You can do it.
Oh, I'm screwed.
Sure, but that comes with the job. You gotta make everybody else look good. Carry those amps and hook those wires and drive all night and do it all over again. You're what keeps rock rolling. Now come on, we can do it. All three of us.